Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rock and Roll Spock. I'm actually with my weekly comic book roundup. We get started here. We got a few books to cover with Infinity Wars number 4. So where we left off, Loki in Soul World had managed to come upon a familiar face. What appeared to be a combination of Wolverine and Emma Frost. Picking up where that left off. This Infinity Warp, as they're being referred to, managed to look inside Loki's mind and decided that after that he needed a drink. And so, rehashes the story and explains that apparently they were to be devoured by an ancient Soul Eater. And so, they realized that, one, everything and everyone that Loki needs to fix things in Soul World, including the Infinity Stones. And so they decided they had to go find it. But first they're set upon by Devondra, the ancient Soul Eater within the Soul Gem. And it turns out that the missing pages in the Book of Creation were actually on a spider that creates universes from her silk. And so it turns out that somehow the Phoenix Force is at play. And Emarine. And the Phoenix Force manages to separate with the help of the Power Stone, Logan, and Emma Frost. Wolverine ends up fighting Devondra while going to look for some beer, while of course Emma and Loki continue on their journey. Now going after Kang. We see Requiem killing the Thor Loki at the end of one of the alternate universes, and Moondragon Phyla-Vell going on to be prisoners until they manage to free themselves and become Dimensionauts. Back to Emma Frost and Loki. They find the combination of Kang and Kamala Khan. They then separate the two and then go after the next person they'll need, Scott Banner. With Emma explaining that it's not Bruce Banner they need, but rather the Hulk. Hulk, however, really doesn't give a shit. So they go and rescue Warlock, who's with the help of, with Ant-Man lending a hand as well. Ant-Man, who has leapt into the being and then expanded his way out. And then Emma Frost puts out a call to all the heroes. We see some that we've already seen. Arachnite, Soldier Supreme, Iron Hammer. A few that are coming up. Weapon Hex, Ghost Panther, also Man-Thing Thune. And they're fighting, and you see them fighting, well, giant spiders. Emma remarks, "We need more heroes," and then suddenly a saxophone player stops and says, "We need more heroes." The rest of his band, so of course, they also stop playing, and one looks at Art and says, tells me he was destroying things. Art walks off, sax in hand, continuing to say, "We need more heroes." He passes by a window and it's revealed that he is Arthur Douglas, Drax. And then at the Creation Quarry, we catch up with Gamora, who is who has basically dug her way through all the other dead gods. And she explains, after Devandra's hunger is sated, she will spin new threads, and from them a new reality will be born. Gamora means to be the one to weave it. However, they've reached a barrier that they cannot pass. And her counterpart, the librarian turned writer of tales, explains that maybe it's not so much time for infinite power, but rather infinite finesse. And she also mentions that whatever happens, even if Gamora cannot breach out of this universe, whatever happens next should truly be worthy of song. And it turns out the Watchers are now present. Alright. Moving on to X-Men Black, Mojo. Okay, so a quick primer. Mojo is an interdimensional television producer and a longtime foe of the X-Men, as he is constantly trying to get them to be stars in his programming, wittingly or unwittingly. The dimension he hails from is also the home dimension of Longshot and Shatterstar. And so, to be perfectly honest, Mojo is kind of written in this as the equivalent of a longtime fan, as he rails against new characters overshadowing the longtime favorites. And now it is back to he's going to reboot and rebirth. No more New Mutants. Anyways, but before everything is set up, he travels into the city. turns out there's a young woman he's rather enamored of, and he's trying to chat her up. But he's also losing his nerve monumentally, and it turns out that Glob Herman from the X-Men goes to the same coffee shop. And so, he offers Mojo advice. Companionship, even. And meanwhile, we've discovered that Mojo's being followed by his his primary henchman, Major Domo. But they continue to have their conversation, musing about being, well, about looking extremely different. And then Mojo does something very unlike him and saves a small child from being run over by a car. Also, everyone turns out loves his spider leg chair. They eventually get back to the mansion. They're talking. Their conversation comes to an end, and then Mojo remembers he had a plan he was putting into motion. And Major Domo, it turns out, came to fruition. And so the X-Men will feel the power and wrath of the half-sentient. Which is basically, well, as he puts it, the half-sentient is a robot akin to what it would be like if a mindless one and a sentinel had a baby. Which is apparently exactly what happened. He acquired both of those things, and during their captivity, they fell in love and did the nasty. His words, exact words from the comic. But it ends up threatening the young lady, that Mojo's enamored of as well. And so, once again, Mojo has to save the day. And he manages to get a date with the girl. She also likes his spider-leg chair. And of course, he has to keep up appearances in front of Major Domo, but he figures maybe this one can wait for now. And apparently, though, his date went well. And of course, also, like X-Men Black Magneto, we have the X-Men Black Apocalypse Degeneration Part 2. Apocalypse is slowly degenerating. The armor he wears is slowly but surely disappearing. As he becomes more and more human. And he discovers he's thirsty. He feels pain. He's set upon by insects. He stands tall against them. And they very nearly kill him. And then he begins to question, does he even deserve to live if others are above him? Next week for X-Men Black will be X-Men Black Mystique. Alrighty, moving on to Iceman number 2. So the first issue of Iceman featured Iceman and Bishop going up against a group of Nouveau Marauders who were trying to start their own mutant massacre. They of course prevented this, and it turns out they were being, their boss was none other than Mr. Sinister, who managed to get some information on what Iceman is now capable of doing. Of course, when Iceman returned to the mansion, he found Emma Frost waiting on him. So, turns out Emma needs Bobby's help. And turns out that she is afraid for her brother, Christian Frost. And Iceman's more of a people person than she is, so some help is needed. And she goes over the story that apparently Emma's brother Christian could always bring warmth and laughter into the house. Their father didn't see his light, and he also did not take the fact that Christian is gay lightly either, or as a fact. Put him through conversion therapy. Yeah. Lately, however, Christian is now apparently the heir apparent. Apparently, she visited to on her own and she was attacked by their father, who seemed to have powers of his own. So the two show up. Christian is the gracious host, though they still think that obviously this must be a ruse, and they discover that it's not Emma's father who has the powers, but rather her brother Christian, and he has killed their father. And created a manifestation of him. So, Iceman and Emma managed to calm things down, and Emma explained to Christian why she brought Bobby into this. And she offers to help him. Of course, this also leaves Bobby stranded in New England. Of course, when you're Iceman, and you're in the Northeast, making an ice slide is not the hardest thing. At the very end, we see that, of course, Sinister is planning something. He's about to send a creature out to attack Iceman and get an idea as to what he's capable of. This issue also reveals that Iceman has taken to putting a thin layer of ice around his brain to block telepaths. It's an interesting thought, actually. And next up we've got X-23, number 5. Where we left off here, the Cuckoos had managed to place the consciousness of the late Esme Cuckoo into the body of X-23's sister, Gabby, who happens to be indestructible. However, the consciousness of Sophie Cuckoo has taken root in Laura's head. And so, Sophie explains why they're doing things. However, Esme has evil plans which she's going to put into motion. And I have to say, I do kind of get a kick out of Gabby the Cuckoo. That is kind of cool. I hate to admit it. Beast briefly They are briefly stopped at the mansion by what turns out to be an illusion of Beast in a helicopter with a high-powered rifle. We get a bit of a fight. And they manage to get Esme's mind out of Gabby's body. And everything's all hunky-dory. And so they have a funeral party for Esme. And we found out that it looks like one of the Logans is also living with X-23 and Honey Badger. But yeah, there's a little placard on the cake that says, "Esme, we're glad you're dead. Please stay dead." But the two take a picture together, along with Jonathan the Wolverine, covered in cake frosting. And I can tell all the attendants at their little party is Beast, Nightcrawler. I think that's supposed to be Rogue and Gambit. But that concludes the Cuckoo story. So, moving on to Domino number 7. So, start off in Barcelona, obviously, Spain. There's been a murder. I think maybe it's Atlantean because whoever the killer was barefoot, and they took whatever meal they were having as part of the person with them. And so, anyways, back on the painted lady. Outlaw and Diamondback reveal some concept art, a piece of concept art for their casino steamboat. Come on, get lucky. So anyway, it's of course that's not Domino. Well, it is, but. And yes, her t-shirt says, "My boyfriend was an X-Force and all I got with this lousy t-shirt." But, yeah. Some good ideas, and they'll think about it. But, oh, shit. Well, it turns out though that they have a guest. Young woman from Wakanda who wants to hire Domino and her posse and offers to pay them 4 times their usual fee. So they go to eastern Norway, and while snowmobiling around, they come upon a creature. Diamondback explains that this is definitely a trap, and also tells her the stories her grandmother used to tell. The creatures that lived in the forest. And so, yay, fighting vampires! And Domino manages to make her luck work for her, as nothing else seems to be killing them. Has Diamondback throw some explosives in the trees, those blow up, and promptly stake the shit out of all of them. One of them dies, and so kind of gives them an idea of what's happened. They find a massive box that's been chained up. Outlaw breaks it open, and Morbius, the living vampire himself, plops out, also wrapped in chains. They're trying to figure out why he was there, but then, you know what? Put it back. Let's just put him back and go. But they're being watched, and Dama was mistaken for being a vampire due to her pale skin. And the man watching them, Ty, suggests calling in everyone with a grudge against vampires. Blade, the Harkers, yeah, kill them all. So we'll see where that goes. Now, a quick word on Marvel, history of the Marvel Universe. Dracula is a character who exists within the Marvel Universe. And yes, it is the same Count Dracula who was the focus of Bram Stoker's novel. Meaning that the events of the novel Dracula actually happened. I would not be surprised if there's been a Van Helsing in Marvel or that I've somehow missed along the years. But my knowledge when it comes to Marvel's horror books is sadly more limited than I wish it were. Anyway, moving on to Avengers number 9. Which, by the way, his legacy numbering is issue 699. Alright, so where we left off, a war seems to be brewing between Atlantis and the surface world. The issue begins off the coast of the Bahamas, cruise ships going by, and Tiger Shark begins scaling the side when Stinger, former Avenger, and Heroes for Hire member Stingray attacks, and the two fight underwater. It turns out that Stingray married Tiger Shark's sister. Oh well. Anyway. But then Namor and his war sharks appear. And Stingray's gonna think, really? You're gonna do the whole Atlantis attacks thing again? And Namor beats the shit out of Stingray. And then sets his war sharks upon him. It is very much implied that they just killed off Stingray. Tiger Shark then is offered a place in Namor's army. And he's smart enough to realize that if he says no, he's going to be the War Shark's next meal. We flash back to the days earlier. The Avengers going to meet with Namor underwater. They fight a bunch of Atlantean soldiers and eventually have an audience with Namor. And Namor manages to very easily stop Iron Man and Thor in their tracks. Tells Carol Danvers to enjoy the privilege of being able to touch him while it lasts, and then along comes the Hulk, well, She-Hulk, who basically lets loose a gamma explosion under the ocean, which of course Namor survives, only to be run over by Ghost Rider, which again he survives. this just continues, and apparently Landis has fallen victim to a fallen Celestial, much like the rest of the world has. Cap explains that they've offered to help with the rebuilding, and eventually, kind of, hey, look, give us the guys who killed your people. We'll make sure that they see a fair trial. But after a few days have gone by, Namor's kind of no. So he manages to drown the killers in their prison cells, which are in New Mexico. And the Defenders of the Deep are now going to do the whole attack thing. But I think they're going more reactionary. Kind of hey, you come to the ocean, we'll fuck you up. We're not gonna, So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Continuation as the story goes on. Anyways, next on the list we've got Captain America #4. So Cap has discovered that not only is Sharon Carter's mission a setup, but Thunderbolt Ross is behind it. So he infiltrates the military base in Alberia where Sharon's being held. And since Wakanda and Alberia have peace treaties with one another, Black Panther cannot. Neither Black Panther nor Okoye can help. But Cap's alright with that. He fights some of their guards, and then actually he fights a bunch of their guards while talking about how the kind of man that Thunderbolt Ross was, and how apparently, I did not know this, but apparently Cap served with Ross's aunt during the war. But he continued to make his way through guards, and we discover who it is that is who the mysterious ally of Selene's is. She's the widow of Alexander Lucan. And of course, she hired the services of Taskmaster, who's doing what he can to stop Cap. And eventually does take him down. However, Lucan's widow wants revenge and wants Sharon to pay for it with the aid of Selene and her life powers. Turns out that while fighting Taskmaster, Cap soon realizes that the arrows that Tasky keeps shooting him with must be coated in something, because Tasky's coming on harder and harder, but yeah. So that's where that issue ends. Next up, we've got one of this month's What If one-shots. What if Peter Parker became the Punisher? Okay, so What If is a concept and book that Marvel has had for quite some time. Sporadically, it runs for a while, stops, runs for a while, stops. lately, Marvel just switched to doing a batch of annual one-shots. Now, this is also highlights the major difference between Marvel and DC and their how they handle their multiverse. DC's multiverse tends to be every Earth is extremely different. For example, you've got an Earth that where we're in the late 19th century still, and but all of the modern heroes exist. And in fact, the Joker is replaced, and Batman faces off with Jack the Ripper. Whereas in Marvel, what the various Earths in the multiverse tend to be based on what if this one thing had happened differently. And so in this, we get what if Peter Parker became the Punisher. And it starts off like any other, like Peter Parker's normal story does. Bitten by a radioactive spider, becomes a wrestler to make some money, and an agent comes, a promoter comes to him and says, "Hey, with your showmanship." And so he does a bit of that, but once again, the burglar comes around, the guy comes along, steals from the venue he's playing at, and gets Spider-Man lets him go. Say, not my job. Gets home and oh no, his uncle's been killed. Chases the killer down, and turns out it's the burglar. And then Spider-Man, Spider-Man kills him. But manages to save the he has to do a photographer who got pictures of him. So he continues on as he figures out how to make things, how to set up a camera so he can get pictures of battling bad guys. Turns out, however, that the hardest one to take down is, of course, Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. Excuse me. He starts dating Gwen Stacy, and things kind of, take a turn, and crime goes down, but at the same time, you've got a gang war going on, but it's just thugs killing thugs, so. Peter and Gwen Stacy start dating. Norman finds who the Punisher is, and Norman Osborn finds who the Punisher is, and then of course the right mixture of chemicals and explosion not cause him to lose his memory. And then of course he manages to gets it back and kidnaps Gwen Stacy. But this time, however, Punisher is able to save Gwen Stacy and kill Green Goblin. But he also opts to retire. And so he leaves his Punisher gear in a trash can. Walks away. And shortly thereafter, a family, Frank Castle's wife and children are killed as collateral damage in a mob hit. And Frank Castle stumbles upon a trash can in an alley as he walks away. In that trash can is the Punisher's gear. This would actually make for an interesting Earth to follow up on. Especially seeing as how often Spider-Man and Punisher's paths cross. Anyways, we're going to finish things off with Exiles number 9. So, where things left off, they were standing around this house, and the Exiles left. And Blink awoke in an Arabian home. There's a woman calling her, claiming that Blink is her son, Aladdin. And so she's kind of freaked out because here she is in medieval Baghdad. She catches the attention of the sorcerer Hakim Strange, who takes her out into the desert, opens up a cave, and tells Blink, Aladdin, only she can go through. So she does, and he wants Aladdin to bring him the lamp within. So he ends up accidentally rubbing it, and Iron Lad pops out. Of course, Strange is pissed that the Blink rubbed the lamp as opposed to him, so traps them into the cave, and they fight with apparently the Rhino. Elsewhere, Valkyrie and Becky are running through, with Valkyrie being mistaken for Alibaba. And then we see Cat fighting a group of thieves led by apparently the Black Cat. Then King wakes up with Wolvie. Well, Wolvie and the two talk a bit, and it appears that they're on a ship. And King is Sinbad. They get to an island and go to see what they can get. They can find on said island, and they are suddenly set upon by Cyclopses. They get out. They eventually get away, but the ship is destroyed. Meanwhile, Blink and Iron Lad find a flying carpet, manage to make their way out, while Valkyrie and Sharon Carter Cat talk about Valkyrie's intentions with Becky, and they try and find Becky, who's been captured by the thieves. And soon enough, all parties are reunited, and they come upon Nocturne, who all she knows is she's been stuck in the palace reading stories to a creep who looks like none other than Doctor Doom, or rather in this case, Caliph Doom. So this is a very interesting setup. They're stuck in the world of the Arabian Nights. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I'm going to try over the course of the next couple of days to get both the retro reviews up for both Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. Anyway, as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for notifications of when I put up new content. And links to my Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon are in the description box down below. This is the Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.